Hello everyone, welcome to TL Educations to Civics and Ethical Educations Chapter 2. Hope you liked the previous video of Chapter 1 where we discussed about introductory parts of the subjects. So coming to Chapter 2, we will be looking at our approach of ethics. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and also like the videos if you find them helpful. Also share this video to your friends. Comments below on the questions I ask, be active on them. And first off, I have a quick activity for you. Are you the type of person who usually does the right thing, and how do you know whether you are doing the right thing or the wrong thing? So make sure, let me know in the comments. I will rate that. Thank you very much, and let's get right into it. So what is ethics? Ethics is a branch of philosophy that involves systemizing, defending, and recommending the concept of right and wrong conduct. So the main thing is all about ethics tells us from what is right to what is wrong. So it systemizes our actions, it defends on our action, it recommends the concept of what is right and wrong in our day-to-day lives of actions. The term ethics derives from the ancient Greek word ethnos, which means the custom or habit. So in practice, ethics seeks to resolve questions of human morality by defending the concepts of such as good and evil, right and wrong, virtue or vice, justice or crime. So bioethnicity, Larry Churchill has written, ethics understood as the capacity to think critically about moral values and direct our actions in terms of such values in generic human capacity. So in generic human capacity, its ethics makes us think critically about moral values and directs our action in terms of such values. So it's all based on moral values. Our moral values decides on whether we're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. So that basically is defined as ethics. What are the types of ethics? Now, philosophers now they divide ethical theories mainly into three areas: meta-ethics, normative ethics, applied ethics. But there are also non-normative ethics, which I will be adding on to this. So, what is meta-ethics? So, meta-ethics deals with the nature of moral judgment. It looks at the origins and meaning of ethical principles. So, meta-ethics, where did ethical principles start from? Where did they originate from? So, in the nature of moral judgment. So, the next one, normative ethics, is concerned with the content of moral judgment and the criteria for what is right and what is wrong course of action. It judges all actions of whether they are right or by moral judgment, by having a moral judgment of those actions. So, normative ethics establishes a single principle against which we judge all actions. This approach of ethics asks general questions about the morality of behavior. It attempts to provide general moral norms of behavior. In other expression, it is the attempt to arrive at a moral standards that tells us how to judge right from wrong, good or from bad, and how to live a moral life. Now, it involves how people ought to act on the principle and how to make moral choices and how rules apply to individual lives. So, so applied ethics. Applied ethics looks at what a person is obligated or permitted to do in a specific situation or a particular domain of actions. So applied ethics is a branch of ethics which is consistent on the analysis of specific controversial moral issues such as abortions, animal rights, and the like. In recent years, applied ethics issues have been subdivided into covenant groups like professional ethics, medical ethics, business ethics, environmental ethics, and sexual ethics. So it gathers all of this and looks at what a person is obligated to do in this specific situations of particular domains of actions. So difference between meta and normative ethics. So what are the difference between meta-ethics and normative ethics? Now, normative ethics, as I said before, uh, deals with the questions like which of my actions should be considered as good. Now, rather, meta-ethics deals with the question, what is good? So, normative ethics, which of my actions should be considered as good, and meta-ethics deals with question like what is good. Defining applied ethics more, it is a philosophical examination from moral standpoint of particular issues in private and public life, which are matters of moral judgment. It is thus the attempt to use philosophical methods to identify the morally correct course of action in various fields of everyday life. So, as I said before, business ethics, engineering ethics, biomedical ethics, environmental ethics, military ethics. Why do we need ethics? So ethics guides us like a map. So most moral issues gets us pretty worked up because these are such emotional issues. We often let our hearts do the arguing while our brains go with the flow. So, but there's another way of tackling these issues, and that's where philosophers can come in. They offer us ethical rules and principles that enable us to make a cooler view of moral problems. Ethics is about feelings for others. At the heart of ethics is a concern about something or someone other than us and our own desire and our self-interests. So ethics is concerned with other people's interests, with interest of society. So when a person thinks ethically, they are giving at least some thought to something beyond themselves. So ethics values create integrity. Uh, High sense of ethics and values make a man trustworthy and representable. If a professional individual follows every legal and moral code, abides by the rules and regulation of the company, and tries to create the maximum profits for the client and for the company, then the said individual catalyzes the increment of integrity of the company as well as himself or herself. So some ethical principles can be said as told before: truthfulness, honesty, loyalty, respectful, and fairness. So you cannot have integrity without these things: the truthfulness, honesty, loyalty, and respect and fairness. Honestly, if we are talking about thinking beyond yourself, you must be truthful, you must be honest, you must be loyal, you must be respectful and fair to people and situations. So the word morality or morals refers to the actual conduct and related acts of individuals and groups. So the actual conduct or related act of the individual, of an individual or a group, is called morality or morals. So morality says, do this, don't do that. Act this way, acting the other way is wrong. Follow this principle, if not, it is wrong. So morality sets out norms and customary rules to judge the action intention of an individual and groups in the society. So it is something which is set by a certain community or society. So these moralities, it is something that is set by a certain community or society. In every community or society, there is a standard that serves as a litmus test to distinguish moral person from immoral one. So moral persons are praised, rewarded, and privileged, whereas the immoral faces condemnation and rejection. So, ethical schools of thought. There are two ethical schools of thought. First of ethical relativism uh, and ethical absolutism. So, when we come to ethical relativism, so the school of thoughts of ethical school of thought, the ethical relativism and ethical absolutism or universalism. Ethical relativism believes that moral values and principles are created by or are relative to the people who hold their beliefs. So ethical relativism is based on the moral values that people hold to believe. So, believe the moral values, principles, and created by or are relative to the people who hold those beliefs. There are two main types of ethical relativism, namely ethical subjectivism and cultural relativism. So, ethical subjectivism states that morality is simply the expression of individual opinion. What is right for you may be wrong for me depending on our respective feelings. So everyone can have their own feelings, what could be moral or immoral. So it's called subjectivism is so what is right for you may be wrong for another person depending on the respectives of feelings between us. So cultural relativism, on the other hand, uh, claims that social norms rather than the opinions of isolated individuals from the basis of morality. So, unlike ethical subjectivism, uh, so these are both ethical relativisms. So in ethical relativisms, in revising that, ethical relativism has ethical subjectivism and cultural relativism. So ethical subjectivism is one person's opinions of what is moral, and cultural subjectivism is what the society considers as moral. So cultural relativism claims social norms rather than the opinion of isolated individuals from the basis of morality. According to this view, morality not only differs from culture to culture, but may also change within a culture over time. There are no universal value by which we measure the righteousness or wrongness of an action or belief. Ethical relativism, particularly cultural relativism, can be considered as a bedrock of multi. Now, analyzing a case, Mr. X, after graduating from one of the universities, has been replaced by Ministry of Education to teach civics and ethical education in the area where kidnapping has for a long been for long been practiced. As he is single, he tried to have life partner but failed. Over the time, Mr. X realized that love marriage is something uncommon to the community, so he decided to have a partner through the widely practiced way of kidnapping. He did not regret because kidnapping is more in the community in which he lives. Do you think that Mr. X is ethical or unethical person? So, uh, what this tries to tell us is the difference in ethical subjectivism and cultural relativism. So the cultural relativism in this is that kidnapping has been practiced as kidnapping is is moral action, but this person comes from from another part where kidnapping is immoral and has his own opinion, which is ethical subjectivism, which is an opinion that kidnapping is immoral. So, what do you think? Do you think that Mr. X is ethical or unethical person? So, jump the fact that oh, what if it was not kidnapping? So, what is if it was normal thing, but he found it immoral before, but because he was placed in that place, he was moved to that place. He now accepts it as a moral thing. So, what do you think about that? Please make sure to comment below your answers. What do you think? It's a little bit debatable. So let's continue. It's called universalism. So the second one of a school of thought of ethics. There are two school thoughts, as we said before: ethical relativism and ethical absolutism, or universalism. So we have seen ethical relativism. So what do you think can be the ethical absolutism or universalism? So ethical universalism is a new belief that moral principles exist independently of a cultural context of society. It is the opposite of ethical relativism. So ethical relativism is based on what a society thinks as moral or what an individual thinks as moral, which are uh, ethical subjectivism and cultural relativism. So, but when you come to ethical universalism or ethical absolutism, uh, this view believes that moral principles exist independently of a cultural context of society. So it does not consider what a society considers to be moral. It is a universal thing. So it must be obliged by the whole universe. So it assumes that moral values and principles are not culture specific, rather it is argued that moral principles transcend this across societies. First, moral values are subjective in the sense that they are not created by humans and are independent of subjective human thought processes. Second, moral values are unchanging in the sense that they do not have vary over time and from place to place. Third, moral values are universal in that they apply to everyone who exists in the planet Earth. So basically, it does not mean that the society, a certain society, accepts this as a moral thing, or the individual accepts it as a moral thing. It is a whole universe, a whole people that should accept it as a moral. Among the advocates of ethical universalism, Immanuel Kant's contribution is paramount. So, among the advocates of ethical universalism, on ethical universalism, Immanuel Kant's contribution is paramount. Immanuel Kant is a famous philosopher. Immanuel Kant goes on identifying categorical absolute moral rules that guides human beings as not killing, not stealing, not harming human beings, respecting and treating human beings with dignity, not lying, and other stuff like that. So these are considered as ethical universalism. So why to be ethical? So why do we need to be ethical? Ensuring the promotion of common good is very reason why one has to be ethical. Can be no society without moral regulation. Man is man, and only because he lives in a society, take away from a man all that. So this clearly indicates that moral regulation are what makes society a society. So there you go. Why should we do the right acts? So self-interest. Self-interest helpful to people when they need help, anticipating that they will help us when we need their assistance. So we may behave morally to gain material benefits, social approval, and honor, or to escape group sanctions, social disapproval, and ostracism. Divine command. The belief that the creator will reward or punish us and have power motivating factors to respect moral values. The common interest, also the common interest, uh, a society can have a common interest to live peacefully. Is why you should we do the right things or the right act